Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. Today I want to go through some 9.8 comics that I do not have in my collection, but I really want them, to be honest. And if you haven't already, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's get right into things here. The first one is Terminator #1 in a 9.8 from 1988. This book is the first appearance of Terminator in comic books. I really want this one. Yeah, it's a great collector item. I grew up loving like the first Terminator movie. It used to like kind of scare me as a kid, the first one. But then really loved Terminator 2 when it came out in theaters and all that. So I'm a big Terminator fan, really big fan of like Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. So this is just one to want for myself, but it has eluded me over time. Great collector item, 79 in the blue label, 9.8 on the census. Yeah, a 1 of 79. Is fantastic. 26.8% the 9.8 ratio, which is pretty solid for like an undergraded book. There's not a lot of these graded, so the ratio is not going to get too low, but a pretty solid ratio. About 1 in 4 of them that are sent to CGC end up being 9.8s. So for this one, there's a direct edition and the newsstand edition. I think in the direct, you probably want to aim right around 150 bucks for the direct right now. You know, and during the pandemic, you'd see them go for like 200 or over, but I think, you know, things are cooling down. You could probably aim, I would say, in that sort of 150 to 175 range. I was looking for some completed listings on eBay, but didn't really see anything. There's only 79 of them out there, so, you know, there's not going to be a ton of these selling. Pretty hard to find some completed sales. In the newsstand, though, interesting. There's a seller that has 2 newsstand editions on eBay right now. I sent him an offer yesterday. It was like $155.50, and he came back with a $250. I think maybe $255 was his counter offer. So, you know, I would sort of want to get even the newsstand under 200, just because I'm not personally right now. Like I'm not really looking to, you know, buy things or pay up for anything really. Just because like I have a lot of books. I'm really happy with my collection, and there's always going to be books out there that I don't have. So I'm just trying to get like really good deals on everything. I'm not sure if this seller would come down more than $255. I'm sure he would. That was his first offer. Maybe if you wanted this one, you can offer around 200. He might go down to the 200. But he has 2 of these Terminator ones in a 9.8 in a newsstand edition. Yeah, I'm really tempted to like, you know, just whatever, as low as he'll go and just get a deal done on this one. But I think I'm going to kind of show a little restraint, even though I do really want this one. But yeah, there's only 79 of them out there, and there's 2 of them in the newsstand if you really want this one. And, you know, maybe you're a little more motivated than me at the moment to buy this one. But yeah, great one if you're a Terminator fan. Terminator #1 from 1988. It's the Now Comics one. Is a pretty great one that I definitely want. Next one is a Star Wars Annual #3. This is just like one of my favorite classic Darth Vader covers that's super scarce in a 9.8. It's really tough to find. Awesome collector item for a guy like me who's just really into Darth Vader. I've always loved Darth Vader. There's 37 9.8s in a blue label. A 1 of 37 would just be great to have in any 9.8 collection for this one if you're a Darth Vader fan. 17.9% is the 9.8 ratio, which is pretty fantastic as well for a very undergraded book. So most of these had, during the pandemic, absolutely had gone over $200. I think there was maybe one I remember selling for around 400 bucks at one point. But I think, you know, things have totally cooled down. All these sort of secondary keys that aren't really obvious key issues have really cooled down in price, I think. And I think you could pretty much aim for this one right around 200. Hopefully a little bit under. If you really wanted it, maybe a little bit over. There's only 37 of them. So this one, I did not see any completed listings recently for them. Yeah, such a great collector item. If you really, you know, I'd be so tempted even if it was a little over, like in that sort of 225 to 250 range, if kind of one looked amazing and popped up on eBay, one of those 37. I would probably be, you know, I'd say I'd be so tempted to pull the trigger over 200, but I think you could kind of aim for under 200 if you saw this one kind of pop up on a stealthy auction or something like that. you know, you might be able to get this one in the kind of 180 to 200 range, let's call it. I think that would be a great deal on a Star Wars Annual #3. Yeah, just such a classic Darth Vader cover on that. That's really scarce. Okay, next one. I sort of have it. It's a Batman Adventures #1. I got the direct edition in a 9.8. Pretty great one if you're a Batman fan and you grew up watching the Batman animated series, which I did, and I still watch the Batman animated series like so much. It's probably not very healthy for an older man to be watching the Batman animated series now, but I don't really care. But you know what? I really want the newsstand edition in a Batman Adventures #1. It's kind of like the first appearance of animated Batman. For me, that's a bit of like an underrated first appearance. Yeah, I think there's a huge kind of cult of fans that really love the Batman animated series, and to kind of get that first animated Batman in comic books is pretty awesome. Yeah, so I am hunting for the newsstand edition. You know, I've probably been looking pretty consistently for the last like 3 to 6 months or so. I hadn't saw one. I saw a 9.6 newsstand looking pretty great. That kind of tempted me, to be honest. But for this one, there's 254 9.8s in a blue label, some of those being a newsstand, probably not very many of them at all. 32.3% is the 9.8 ratio. So this one in a direct edition is one of my favorite 9.8s, around $100. Like, I think in an auction you can get it for like $90 or something like that, in kind of a stealthy auction. You know, maybe if it just looks great in the pictures, you pay a little bit over 100, but I'm pretty sure there's a few on eBay in that kind of 125 range as well for this Batman Adventures #1. I think the newsstand is probably going to be right around $200. It seems to be really scarce. Like, yeah, I haven't saw one yet. And I've been doing, yeah, quite a lot of searches for like Batman Adventures CGC 9.8 on eBay and Batman Adventures newsstand 9.8. Hadn't saw one yet. I'd probably be willing to pay right around $200 though for the newsstand edition in a Batman Adventures 1 9.8 white pages. So I'm on the lookout for that one. Next one is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the 4th printing. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 in the 4th printing. Yeah, I think this is a pretty great affordable one. It's really kind of come down in price from pandemic highs. Like, I think they were kicking around sort of $800 to $900. I think maybe there was a sale around $1,000 in this one during the pandemic. But I saw one recently sell for $400. And this one actually sold in the last few days. But I hadn't really searched for this one in the last few days, so I missed it. But I noticed it on the completed listings on eBay this morning. One selling for $400 flat buy it now as well, which is pretty interesting. Every now and then you'll see like a really good price to buy it now by a motivated seller. So those are worth looking out for. But you go back like a month or so, I saw one sell in an auction as well for $447. So kind of 400 to 500, or 400 to 450 rather, I think is the fair value on this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 in the 4th printing, which is getting pretty affordable in a 9.8. It's really tempting me. There's 106 9.8, so 1 of 106 in this 4th printing. 10.8% the 9.8 ratio, so solid ratio. Not a lot of them on the census. A lot of people don't kind of get along with this cover, but I don't mind it. It's a decent cover. It's not the original cover, which is, you know, a negative for sure. Like, the original is just so classic. Yeah, this wraparound cover is not too bad in my books. And right around 400 is, I think, like a great buy in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 in the 4th print. If I saw that on eBay like in the last week or so, I would have been tempted to pull the trigger at 400, because this, you know, first appearance of Turtles in the 4th printing, like that's probably going to be a pretty great one over time. Like, if you're patient, you got a long-term time horizon on this one. I think at $400 is a really good buy. If the market kind of takes an upward, yeah, at any point in the next few years or something like that, I think this one is going to be worth much more than $400. Yeah, great collector item. Lots to like about a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 in the 4th print, especially if you can get it right around 400 in a 9.8. And the last one, pretty similar reasoning to the Terminator #1. I want a Predator #1. Yeah, just one of my favorite movies growing up, The Predator with Arnold. Saw one recently sell for this one at $558.99, and I'm pretty sure someone on the team, because I talked about this book on a recent video, and someone mentioned in the comments that they got it closer to 500, I want to say, maybe even under 500. So that might be doable, but I did, absolutely saw that one sale at $558.99. There's 496 in a 9.8. This is a Dark Horse comic, so probably a little bit less printed than like your Marvel or DC comic from the late 80s, I think so. 18% is the 9.8 ratio on the Predator #1. So yeah, just one of my favorite movies growing up, The Predator with Arnold. And this one has eluded me over time. Yeah, I should have bought this pre-pandemic. There were a few opportunities to get it in the kind of a little under 300. I'm pretty sure I remember that, they were going pre-pandemic. So this one, post-pandemic prices are still above the pre-pandemic prices, which is nice to see. And yeah, it's a pretty great collector item. And I think, just like me, there's a lot of fans out there that just really love the Predator movies and the Arnold movies. So yeah, and a similar reasoning for, I think, the Terminator #1 is a really great one to grab too. But yeah, I definitely would want a Predator #1. And if you want one out there, hopefully you get it a little closer to $500, let's call it. I think is a really good deal on a Predator #1. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Yeah, just a couple books that I really want in my collection. Yeah, I would love to have these. They would just fit in so awesome. I'm really happy with my collection, so I'm trying to get really good deals, and I'm not really in a rush to really buy anything, and kind of done my big buying in years past. So, but yeah, I would really be interested in adding these to my collection on a really great deal. Okay, thanks so much for watching, though. I'll see you on the next one.